if you don't care what folks say about this family, I does. I told you and told you that you can always tell a lady by the way she eat in front of folks like a bird. And I ain't aiming for you to go in Mr. John Wilkes and eat like a field hand and gobble like a hog. I first heard that exchange during the 1960s when I saw the movie as a boy during a re-release at the Lowe's Grand Theater in Atlanta, the same place it premiered in 1939. As I watched the scene again over the years, especially after I started writing about food, I began to wonder about the barbecue itself. What did they cook? Who did the cooking? How did the producers even know how to stage the antebellum barbecue that defined antebellum barbecues in American popular culture? They knew because Selznick International Pictures hired someone to research such matters. Wilbur G. Kurtz, an artist and historian in Atlanta, acted as technical advisor on the film, influencing everything from the way the plantation houses looked to what the slaves wore, often with drawings to show what he meant. Among his papers at the Atlanta History Center is a 6-page handwritten description of how to recreate an Old South barbecue, complete with the dimensions of the trench, diagrams for spacing the rods over the coals, and detailed instructions for cooking and basting the meat. In the first paragraph of the memo, Kurtz discloses that his information is based on a March 1938 interview with Will Hill, an aged Negro so old he refuses to tell his age, if indeed he knows it. Of course. Who else in the late 1930s would have known about the backstage workings of an antebellum barbecue but an elderly Negro who had been there? If you examine the credits for Gone with the Wind on the Internet Movie Database, you'll find Will Hill listed among 40 additional crew members as technical advisor uncredited. It's more credit than many people like him ever received. When I told people I was writing a book about the history of barbecue, one of the comments I often heard went something like this: "Did you find out who invented barbecue? Wasn't it black people?" Talk about a loaded question. I usually answered with some learned hemming and hawing that led to my belief that the matter of origin is complicated, that while African Americans are profoundly entwined with the history of barbecue and probably did more than anyone to perfect the art form, you simply can't say that any one ethnic group created a tradition with multiple authors. Black people did not invent barbecue, I would conclude. It only seems that way. Enslaved Africans came to the New World with some knowledge of cooking techniques that prepared them for barbecue. There are plenty of antecedents in West Africa, says Jessica B. Harris, a culinary historian who has written widely about the continent's cooking and its influence on American food. They knew how to cook over fire and how to dry and preserve meats with smoke. It was part of the intellectual baggage they brought with them. Barbecue and slavery took root in America at about the same time, and they spread across the South in tandem. It's clear from contemporary accounts and oral histories that when planters threw a barbecue, slaves did the work, digging the trenches, shoveling the coals, turning and mopping the meat. It was said that the slaves could barbecue meats the best, and when the whites had barbecues, slaves always did the cooking, wrote Lewis Hughes in 30 Years a Slave, From Bondage to Freedom, an 1897 memoir of his life as a bondsman in Mississippi and Tennessee. Barbecue appears often in slave narratives. Some remembered 4th of July celebrations when their masters would allow them to take the day off and enjoy themselves with smoked pigs and general frolicking. "Dem days barbecues was de most source of amusement for everybody," Wesley Jones, a 97-year-old former slave in South Carolina, told a Federal Writers Project interviewer who tried to capture his dialect in the patronizing manner of the time. Jones went on to reveal his recipe for the barbecue sass he swabbed on the meat all night. Barbecue also figures in traumatic events associated with bondage. 2 slave rebellions in Virginia were plotted at clandestine barbecues. In 1800, a slave named Gabriel hatched a rebellion at a barbecue outside Richmond.